to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Welcome back. It's Friday, and we are doing another episode of our study on G.K. Chesterton's The Defendant. This episode, we are going to be discussing essay number 2, In Defense of Rash Vows. So what'd you get from this, Mike?
Well, the part that struck me most was he's talking about the phrase of being another man. And that really struck something in me because it reminds me of what is a particularly irksome phrase in modern discourse. You weren't really being yourself. When people do something wrong, they insist, oh, that wasn't really me. That's not who I am. As if I can take my past actions, completely disavow them, not have to make amends of any sort, and simply say, I'm a different guy.
That's fair.
Instead of having to do the much harder work of saying, I am a sinner, I have fallen short, but I am determined to do better in the future. I'm a very different-ish fellow than I was before my awakening.
Sure.
But I'm still the same guy. I remember everything that I did. I choose now to do different things, but it's not as if I can just decide, oh, no. The things that guy did, that doesn't apply to me. I'm some new and completely different person.
Sure.
Because the only time in my life that I've become a different person was when I was a baby. When I died and was risen again in Christ. It just took a really long time for me to figure out how to actually do that.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah,
But
well,
are you sure you don't have someone who just looks like you going around doing evil, like Evil Mike, who
has
evil
a
but it's
mustache.
somehow different?
I am
And a
confident.
wait.
I am absolutely confident that if there is a twin out there, I'm the evil twin. I wear a cartoon villain's mustache.
You
I'm
do.
not making any secret of my intentions.
All right.
All I'm lacking is someone to tie 2 train tracks.
Either that, or you are in fact the good one, and the normal one is the one who's evil. Like that episode of South Park when they had the alternate dimension versions of themselves. All the kids had there was one who had like a goatee.
Sure, just like the Star Trek Mirror Universe.
Sure, except who was evil. Except for Cartman,
Who's already evil.
who was already evil, so therefore his goatee version was actually the good version of himself.
And nobody could stand him.
But the thing I got from the another man, or different man, or however it was written,
Another man.
was that at the same time, a vow that's taken very seriously does change you.
Yes.
The person who made that vow may in fact be a different, it's still you, but it's not the same you that you were prior to making that vow, because that vow required you to strive. See, the thing I got from this, he talks about marriage and free love, and the thing that I got from this or from this chapter, is really the bit about a vow made in earnest. Sort of fits along the old adage of nothing ventured, nothing gained, or no pain, no gain. If there is no potential for loss, then there can be no potential for reward. So with something like love, where it is an investment of one into another, the notion that you could have free love with no investment, it's logically impossible. It's like suggesting it would be like me suggesting that you draw a squared triangle.
Yeah, it's a logical contradiction.
Exactly. So the notion of free love, where there's nothing that has to be ventured, but all you get is gain. It's like suggesting that you're going to go down to the casino, but before you do that, you're going to take everything valuable you have, lock it up in a safety deposit box, wait for the bank to close so that there's no way for you to access it.
So you walk in with no funds at all.
You walk in with not a penny to your name, and then smack your hands together and say, let's win some money. You've got nothing to put in. Well, how could you take anything out?
And this is what we see happening in society, where people are just afraid to make any sort of commitment at all. Where in the desire to keep their options open, they never make a choice. It's a timid way to live.
Yeah. And he does make the argument at first of how ridiculous it would be to make a truly rash vow.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, he brings it back around to suggest that what the rest of the world looks upon as being rash is in fact the most logical vow to make because there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I've gone and really kind of killed the whole thing, did you get anything out of this, Jeff?
This was not my favorite one because it does have great things, but whenever he talks about rash vows, I'm just reminded of New Year's resolutions that are just being done and how you're not going to chain those two mountains together.
That's fair.
I mean, everyone, fails at the New Year's resolutions, where it's like, it's pointless to make the resolutions, unless you succeed.
Yeah. Which is why you should not go and resolve to join a gym and get in shape, because statistics show you'll have that membership for about 4 months, and by the time those 4 months are over, you aren't going to the gym anymore.
Although, following one of his rash vows, I did think of a vow that sounds completely rash, but doable.
Chaining 2 mountains together?
No! I'm going to count every leaf on the tree on our roads.
See, now we talked about this before, and I know that you're trying to trick our audience because it's January. There are no more leaves.
Yes! There are 0 leaves! I've counted them all.
Except for on the pine tree out in our front yard.
Those are needles. They're leaf-like, but...
They are leaf equivalent.
I didn't say leaf equivalent. I only said leaves. I'm only counting the maple trees.
You didn't say maple leaves. You just said leaves, and those are the leaves.
That's
on
all
the evergreen
that's
tree.
all that tree will ever have for leaves.
Well, I could count the ones that we put on our Advent wreath and then fell, and I vacuumed, and they're still there.
All I know is that in my life, I have often been afraid to make vows. I've tried to keep all of my options open, and it's mostly led to unhappiness and dissatisfaction. Committing yourself to something, and then having to do the hard work of keeping that word, now that's the way to live.
I agree. I quite often try to avoid making commitments that I don't know that I can hold up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if all I'm making is the commitments I know I can hold up, if the only bets I'm ever placing are the ones where I know I'm going to win,
Mm-hmm.
am I really gaining anything?
Well, and the one other point that I wanted to bring up is he talks about how meaningless and mad existence would be if you can say things and people are completely nonplussed by them. Like, I'm going to assassinate the king.
All right, whatever.
Our words have power, and we should, even though it's called a defense of rash vows, he's actually saying that because our words are important, because our words have value, because they have meaning, that's why when we make a vow, we should stick to it. We should be terribly afraid of a world where we think that what we say doesn't matter. And that you can say whatever you want, and there are no consequences.
And we have to be
Although,
willing to make
I believe he wrote this in the Victorian era, most likely, so that there was no king.
No, 1902, Victoria had just died, and there was now a king again.
And at the same time, we have to be willing to make those vows.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be willing to make the rash vow, but we have to be willing to to hold on to it so that the vow is not rash.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think how terrible it would be, and this has happened in so many of our lives, where you make a vow at age 20 to love someone forever, and then decide at age 40, well, I didn't really bargain for all of this, and that's how we get a culture of divorce on demand.
Yeah. It's also with his discussion about free love, how we get a culture of children growing up without a full set of parents. Mm-hmm. Only a mom, or in some cases, only a dad.
Because it doesn't matter that my body has made a vow
Yeah.
to take care of any children that come from it.
This is a lot more. This is a lot more commitment than I was willing to make
the horrible phrase, well, the heart wants what it wants, and so I'm going to just go off and do whatever.
Yeah.
That's not the way a man lives. That's not the way a grown-up lives.
And the heart wants to pump blood at a constant speed. It's pretty much its only thing.
It's really the only thing it wants to do.
So, dear viewer, what do you think of a defense of rash vows? What do you think of making rash vows? You're in favor of it? Do you think it's a bad idea? Have you made any rash vows? Let's discuss below in the comments.
And make sure while you're down there putting in your comments, continuing on this discussion, that you go and you check out the links for the playlist for everybody else who is taking part in this book review, book report, collaboration. So you can see perhaps some differing viewpoints on the notion of defending rash vows.
And even if you are not yourself a Catholic YouTuber, let's have a more broad discussion.
Yeah.
Please.
Our comment section is an open forum.
Yes. Especially as I automatically okayed anything Deacon points out, because usually they consider his stuff spam, given how he's just sending links to random other videos.
The algorithm doesn't know what it's talking about. Every one of those is gold.
Yes.
And while you're down there, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you get notified when our next episode comes out. Hit the like button, because how can you not like us? Or how can you not like G.K. Chesterton?
Or even if you don't like us, make a rash vow to be like, I'm going to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And then you have to live with it.
Next time on the Defendant collaboration, a defense of skeletons.
Ooh.
Yorick's going to love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And until next time, remember, live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.
If a prosperous modern man with a high hat and frock coat were to solemnly pledge himself before all his clerks and friends to count the leaves on every third tree in Holland Walk